first off, welcome. For those of you joining us here, my name is Krista. I'm one of the planetarium educators at Liberty Science Center. And let me see if I can bring my face up here because it's looking like I've disappeared. So hopefully you can all hear me as far as I can understand. So let me just bring me back up here. Let's see, hopefully that'll work. Hello. Oh, no, I'm kind of giant. So hello there. Hello. So welcome for the Astronomy of 2021. Let me just bring this in a little, make me not so giant so you can all see everything. Put myself here in the corner. So we're going to be talking all about the astronomy that is going to be taking place all year. So we have a lot of different things to go over. Of course, we're not going to cover every single thing that's happening, but of course, at any time, if you all have questions, you can go ahead and put those into the chat. I have my colleague Andrew here with us in the chat. He'll be here to help answer questions. I know a lot of our viewers have tons of questions, which is great. We love that. So if I don't have a chance to answer all of them, Andrew and I will do our best to get through as many questions as we can. And then I'll also leave some breaks, especially at the end. If there's any questions that I haven't answered live, then we'll try to get through as many as we can. So a few things to remember again before we start. We're here for the Astronomy of 2021 show, and for those of you wondering if there's going to be another show next month, there is. We're going to be actually covering what I have up here on the main screen. So our live show next month is going to be all about what I'm about to talk about. So I guess we can go ahead and begin with our show. So if you see me also looking to the sides, because I got a couple monitors here, so just so you know why I'm looking a little to the side a few times. Okay, so some of you may have heard of this mission. If you have heard of it, go ahead and put in the chat, yeah, I know what this is. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the landing of the Perseverance rover. So if you know where this lander is going to take place, let me know. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Where is the Perseverance rover going to land? So like you can see here, we might get some answers coming in. The Perseverance rover is going to be touching down in February on one of our neighboring planets. So it is going to be touching down on actually a planet that you can see for a while in our nighttime sky. So what we're bringing up here is basically a view of the sky right now. The planet that we're going to be looking for happens to be near a couple constellations. So if constellation is a new word for you, that means a group of stars that form a picture in the sky. So two constellations you can look towards, or probably an easier way to talk about this is the planet that Perseverance is going to visit is kind of between these two constellations. So we have the constellation of Pisces, the two fish, and Aries, the ram, up here in our wintertime night sky. And the planet that we are looking for happens to be right between them, and it is the red planet Mars. So awesome. I saw a lot of you guessing Mars in the chat there, so great job. And then just to kind of talk about if you're not able to go outside and view the sky immediately in January, don't worry, because you have plenty of time to spot Mars in the sky. It's going to be up there even through March. By the time we get to March, though, it's going to be by the constellation Taurus, the Bull. So we got a lot of time to view that planet Mars in the sky. So basically, if you can find Mars, if any of you relate to any of those constellations I just talked about, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, you're going to be able to find bright red Mars basically dancing between those constellations for the next few months. So, like we mentioned, coming up actually very soon in just a couple weeks, that Perseverance rover is going to be touching down on the surface of Mars. And specifically, it's going to land in a specific spot called Jezero Crater. And I'm actually going to pause real quick because this area was chosen. So Jezero Crater is right in this area here. It was chosen because it's thought that Mars once had water. So a lot like Earth has water and a nice thick atmosphere for us to breathe, we think Mars used to be more like that. We think Mars had water on the surface, a thicker atmosphere. The atmosphere of Mars is really thin, mostly made of carbon dioxide. So the way we're going to figure out whether this is true, whether Mars had water on it long ago, the way we'll figure it out is by sending things and investigating the surface of this planet. So we do have rovers on Mars. This has been done before. There's one active rover on the surface still. It's called Curiosity. And then, of course, Perseverance is going to be the next rover to go and visit this planet. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Perseverance is going to do. But again, we picked this spot. I say that like I was on the team. That would be wonderful. But this area was chosen because it's thought to have water millions of years ago. This we think used to be a sea or a lake. If you actually can look, I'll put my mouse along here. This little area here almost looks like it was a river that poured into this crater and had filled it with water. So we're going to land Perseverance right in the middle of what we think was an ancient sea or an ancient lake. And we're going to investigate and look for signs of past or even present water and life because, like we all know, water is one of the essential needs for living things. So touching down here on the surface, we'll take a look at Perseverance, the rover that's going to land in just a few weeks here. And Perseverance has some brand new tricks. So I'll pause real quick just to kind of show you at the front of Perseverance there is this robot arm, and at the end of that robotic arm is a drill. So actually for the first time ever we're going to drill underground on another planet, so that's really exciting. And then right next to Perseverance here, this has been kind of named as one of the most exciting things that's going to be happening this year. There's an addition to this mission, and this is called Ingenuity. It's a little helicopter that basically is going to be the first flight on another planet, so really exciting. So what we're watching here is actually what's going to be happening in order to get this to land. Both Perseverance, the rover, and Ingenuity, that little copter. So they're both kind of tucked into this capsule here, and it's going to be dropped through the atmosphere of Mars. So like I mentioned, the atmosphere on Mars is a lot thinner than Earth and other planets. So it's not a huge risk that anything will burn up in that atmosphere. So we don't have to worry about that too much. There is still an atmosphere though. And then as this capsule starts to land, we've got that rover and the copter kind of tucked in there, and eventually it'll be released and it'll land right down on the planned crater on Mars. So while this is happening, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about, again, why we're sending this new rover there. So these are fairly small. So Perseverance, this rover, you can see it kind of tucked underneath the capsule there. It's only about the size of a car, and it's going to be, again, searching for signs of life. Now, I do want to say that when I say it's searching for life, I don't mean green aliens. I mean, we never know, right? But more so, we're expecting to find very, very tiny kinds of life, microscopic life, that might still be able to survive with whatever materials are present on or even underground on Mars. It is thought that there's water deep underground on Mars, so maybe there's life down there as well. So this is really cool. This is actually a video from when Curiosity, the rover that is currently there, when that landed. We're expecting almost exactly the same type of procedure to happen to land our Perseverance rover. Some other exciting things that Perseverance is going to do on its mission, it's actually going to help try and pave the way for humans to go and live on Mars. So that is kind of one of the biggest questions we get. Why don't we live on Mars yet? And mainly it's because it's really hard, right? Thinking about all the things that you need to survive, and we'd have to make sure all of that's available. So part of what's going to be happening is Perseverance will be testing to see if we can produce oxygen from the atmosphere of Mars. The atmosphere of Mars is mainly made of carbon dioxide, so there's actually going to be a mission and some experiments, sorry, I forgot the word, some experiments to see whether we could get oxygen to come from that carbon dioxide, and then again looking for water and trying to find safer ways to land people in the future. And I do want to also note that this is not the only rover. There's actually 3 rovers that are going to be landing on Mars in February. So we have the Perseverance rover landing in February, and then we also have 2 more missions, a Chinese mission called Tianwen-1. That's actually the first Chinese Mars mission, and then also the Hope probe coming from the United Arab Emirates. That's also going to be landing in February. That's the first ever Mars mission to come from the whole West Asian area of the world. So really exciting firsts happening coming up with Mars, and that is all in the next couple weeks, all through the month of February. So keep your eyes out for Mars data, more new things that we're going to be learning in the next month or so. So after we have Mars, we're going to be able to see something a little closer to home. So like I've had up here that we're going to have a supermoon happening on April 26th. So I'm going to try to keep these dates up for a little bit in case you want to take notes of them. And then of course, remember that this is going to be recorded. So if you ever need to refer back to it throughout the year, this is a great video to come back to find dates of things. So I'm going to take us to that date in the sky to take a look at the supermoon. So I'll just pause right here because opposite of the supermoon is something called the micromoon. And this is an image from a few years ago, but it's the same thing. So I'm going to show you why we have supermoons and micromoons, why they even happen at all. But I just want to show you the difference between the moon as it appears largest in our sky and the moon as it appears smallest in our sky. So by these 2 pictures, you can see that it's not a huge difference. The reason we have these moons that appear bigger and smaller, again, appear is that really important word. So the moon's not actually growing and shrinking in size. It's all about where it is as it orbits around the Earth. So when the moon's kind of at its closest point, it appears bigger to us, and when it's at its farthest point, it appears smaller. It might not look different to your bare eye as you look at it in the sky. You probably won't notice a huge difference, but you might notice that it might seem bigger to you. So just to kind of show you again why we have these kinds of moons here, again, all depends on where the moon is as it orbits the Earth. So we do have a supermoon and a micromoon all the time. It just happens when the moon is in its full phase. That's when we notice that biggest change. So every month the moon orbits around the Earth when it's at its closest, and then when it's at its farthest will give us these 2 changes in apparent size. So you're going to see the numbers from when it's at its closest to when it's at its farthest, and we can compare. So the moon is really far away, and at these slight different changes, so the moon doesn't go on an exactly perfect circle around the Earth. It's slightly shifted a little ovally, so it's not always the exact same distance from Earth. So when it's at these different appearances, that is when we get our supermoons and our micromoons. So again, supermoon, micromoon, all just about where it is as it orbits around the Earth. Might not appear, it's not going to appear super huge. Just for reference, a cool thing that I always like to share, you can stick your thumb out in front of you. Your thumb should always cover the moon, right? Your thumb should always be able to cover the whole moon. So that's a good tip to help you remember that the moon is not coming towards us, everything's fine, but it might appear a little bit larger in April. So that's our super moon. And then kind of not opposite of our moon, but another one of the things we see all the time in our sky is a solar eclipse. So we've got a couple solar eclipse events that I'm going to be talking about in this show here. So the first one is going to be happening on the 10th of June. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what that solar eclipse is gonna look like for us here in New Jersey. So this eclipse is not going to be a total eclipse from where we are. So there will be parts of the world where it will look like a total solar eclipse. We'll show you what that's like. But first, I'm going to show you what our view will be from right here in New Jersey. So this is going to be pretty early in the morning. You're going to notice this basically as the sun is rising. You'll see that moon kind of covering part of the sun, and then as we go through the morning for about an hour, you'll see that moon slowly moving its position away from the sun. So this is called a partial eclipse, and this is the view again that we are going to see from here in New Jersey. So here's kind of a map. I'll pause real quick. All the areas of orange are where you're going to see these dark orange places. Those are the areas where you're going to see a total eclipse, and then we are in one of those partial regions. So I'll go ahead and show you what the total eclipse will look like from way up north, or if you happen to have friends or be able to see a stream potentially, maybe we can share a resource with that. We'll probably be talking about this in the planetarium as well, but you can see what a the total solar eclipse will look like in the next few months. Now again, very similar to the reason that we get these supermoons and micromoons happening. Again, eclipses happen because of positions as things orbit around the sun. So as the moon orbits around the Earth, right, the Earth orbits around the sun. So whenever it happens where those three objects line up exactly and the moon crosses exactly between the Earth and the sun. So I have it right here, but it's almost like if I just put my fist right in front of my face, you can't see my face anymore, right? So if you're the Earth, I'm the sun. It's exactly lined up, so the sun is blocked. You might notice there is still a ring of light though, so it mainly will cover the sun. You'll still be able to see some of that light shining around. That's why we see that nice halo on a total solar eclipse. But this actually we're a very lucky planet in order to see solar eclipses. The ratio between the sizes of the Earth and the sun and the distance of the moon and the sun line up exactly. So the moon appears to be basically exactly the same size, and it gives us these awesome eclipses. So of course we do want to share that while in our planetarium and on videos like this, it's fine to look at an eclipse with your bare eyes, but if at any point you want to view an eclipse outside, please remember how important it is to be safe. Even though the moon is in front of the sun, there's still that ring of light, and it's still the exact same amount of brightness. Even though it might not seem like it, it's still the same strength of brightness that can really harm your eyes. So we want to encourage everyone, if you want to view even the partial eclipse, it's still very important to wear either solar eclipse glasses, or there are other ways to also view eclipses. Anything that has holes in it, if you hold it up, now this is not something for you to look at the sun through, but if you hold it up and view the shadow that it makes on the ground, you can actually see millions of eclipses. So if you have a strainer or a cracker even, anything with little holes in it. If you hold it up and you, instead of looking at the sun, look at the shadow that it casts, you'll see lots and lots of little eclipses. So this is a really fun activity you can do to watch an eclipse safely as well. So again, that is a partial solar eclipse that's going to be happening this year, but I do want to bring up that there is a total solar eclipse that's going to be visible really close to here, and that is going to be coming up in 2024. So I do just kind of want to show about what that will look like. That's not too far in the future, and it is going to be almost, so even in New Jersey for 2024, it's going to be almost, so you're really going to get to see really close to a total eclipse, but it's not going to be too far away to see the total. We'll show you a map of that in a second. So here is what really close to that total eclipse is going to look like. This is in 2024. So I'll pause on the map right here so you can that you can see. So the path of where the total eclipse is going to happen is really close to where we are. It's much easier. It's going to cross over the whole nation. So if you missed that last solar eclipse a few years ago, there's one coming up really soon. So definitely encourage you to take note. Remember this year, 2024, it's going to happen in April. So the eclipse that's happening in a few months is kind of like a lead up to our total eclipse. So we'll show you what it looks like if you just travel a little bit to another part of the United States, and you can really see this is a total solar eclipse. So in the eclipse that's happening this year, it's not a total eclipse. This is just like a partial and what we call an annual eclipse. So it's not going to be a total eclipse like this one is in 2024, but just like with both eclipses, if you want to view either one, or actually if you anytime that you look at the sun, it's really important that you protect your eyes. So for any reason, looking at the sun just during the day, looking at a partial or a total or an annular eclipse, any type of eclipse, even though something is blocking most of the sun, that ring of light is still just as bright as looking at the sun by itself, and it can still cause your eyes damage. So I just want to be very clear. I want all of your eyes to remain safe. So just keep in mind the safety for when it comes to viewing these amazing events. So this is the really awesome view that you're going to get to see in 2024. Again, not right from New Jersey, but so close by, just a couple states away. It'll be a lot easier for us to see, to get to see this one. And then, like you notice, when the moon blocks over the sun, you can even get to see some planets. We've got Venus and Jupiter. Those are going to be visible even during the day because of the moon will be blocking out that kind of brightness. All right, so got lots of awesome things that we're able to view in our sky. So we've talked about a landing that's happening on Mars. We've talked about a couple of eclipses that are going to be happening and both this year and then a couple years from now. So I did mention I would keep these dates up just for a minute. So this is a really exciting event that's going to be launched that astronomy fans have been waiting a long time for to view this really exciting event. So this is a telescope called the James Webb Space Telescope. It is scheduled to be launched on Halloween. So this is a telescope, again, that we've been waiting a long time for. It's actually been almost 25 years waiting for this telescope to be launched into space. And there's a reason that it has taken so long to get this telescope out into space. This telescope is basically it's about the whole thing's about the length of a tennis court, and it's about 3 stories tall, made of these large mirrors. So these are hexagon-shaped mirrors. They're made of a special type of an element called beryllium, which is important because beryllium keeps its shape nice and exact even at really, really cold temperatures. So space is super cold, so these mirrors are made to not warp and bend and change their shape. Having a mirror telescope, that mirror being the right shape, is incredibly important to getting a nice, accurate, and clear image. So you can almost think of it, if you've been to a carnival and seen a funhouse, if you've looked at yourself in a funhouse mirror, how it kind of warps your body and warps your face. We don't want that to happen when we're taking pictures out in space. And again, that's one of the reasons that it's taken a long time to build and get this telescope ready for launch. We need each of these giant mirrors to be exactly right, both in its shape and its fit and everything. So it's an incredible feat of technology building this large mirror telescope. The whole thing weighs about 6 tons. It's going to be launched again coming in October. These kind of triangle kite-shaped thin things here are what's called a sun shield. So they're there for a couple reasons, both to, I'll just bring that right back real quick, both to keep the instruments cool, and then also to prevent any glow from the radiation that's going to be reflecting off of that mirror from affecting the images. So basically, what the sun shield is going to do, it's going to be warm enough to fry a pancake, to cook a pancake on one side, and then you can freeze water on the other side. So that's how good of an insulator these sun shields are. And then while we're looking at this view of the telescope, I'll just real quick talk about what I mean by a reflection in taking pictures. So light's going to be coming towards this telescope. They're going to bounce off of that big collection of mirrors into this center mirror here. It's a secondary mirror, and then it'll reflect one more time into where the imaging software takes place, and then the picture can be captured. So there's a lot of amazing things that this telescope is going to hope to do. It's going to be orbiting around the sun, but kind of in a specific spot, so it can stay communicating with Earth. So unlike the Hubble telescope, which is orbiting around Earth, the James Webb Space Telescope will be mainly orbiting the sun and looking at pretty much the oldest things that exist. The idea behind this telescope is to view the oldest stars in the universe, to try to look for planets that are around them. It's even going to start studying dark matter. We're going to try to find out how stars were born, what the atmospheres of exoplanets are made of. That's going to be really, really helpful for helping us to try and investigate whether or not there is life on other planets. Because right now we can detect whether exoplanets exist, but it's harder for us to see what those planets are made of. So I'll just back up just a little bit because there's a lot that the James Webb Telescope is going to help us do, but really it's going to use other types of light, so infrared light mostly, to help see farther than not that we have before, but it's going to make it easier to see into very deep space, to look at objects that have been around almost since the beginning of the universe. So really, really old objects, and helping us learn about how they form, what they're made of, and really help us learn about the young universe. So that's going to be really, really exciting, and fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly for that telescope. So again, that's the James Webb Space Telescope, that giant reflecting telescope that is going to be launching hopefully in October. It's a great Halloween present happening. All right. So one other thing that, of course, we want to talk about are so we've discussed the solar eclipse that's going to be happening, and again, the solar eclipse this year, it's not a total eclipse, but it is still going to be an awesome event to look at. There is also going to be a lunar eclipse, a partial lunar eclipse again, and if you're wondering why these are not total eclipses. Why don't we have a total eclipse every time? Why don't we have a solar eclipse every year? Why don't we have a total lunar eclipse every year? And again, that's all because of our orbit, right? As we orbit the sun and as the moon orbits around Earth, they're not exactly nice and flat. Everything's a little askew, and it has to line up exactly right to get these total eclipses. So it's all about timing to get the total views, and we have to be in the right spot on Earth as well. So what we're going to have this year is a partial lunar eclipse. Again, these are still really cool to look at. So this is going to be occurring in November, on November 19th. Really, this, I don't want to say really early in the morning. It's kind of like really late at night, really early, a mixture of those. So for a few hours around 2 a.m. to about 4, you'll see the moon basically at its darkest, at its eclipsiest. And then we'll go forward a couple more hours. You'll see that shadow kind of retreating from the moon as it leaves that shadow. And then we'll have the sunrise very shortly after that, and you'll start your day. So the reason, you may be wondering why the moon looks red for these partial eclipses. Why is the moon red? Why is it not dark and completely covered in a whole shadow? Why can we still see it? So the reason for that is actually from our Earth's atmosphere. So the atmosphere acts like a prism. If you've ever seen light going through a prism and it splits apart into that rainbow shape, that's essentially what's happening with these eclipses. But the way that the colors are bent, that color of red light falls exactly onto the moon. So it's all physics here that we're looking at. So a partial eclipse of the moon like that, it's going to cast that red light across the surface of the moon. So again, a couple types of eclipses. We're going to see a partial lunar eclipse happen, and again, it's not completely lined up to get a total eclipse, but it's still going to cast the moon into the Earth's shadow a bit, and definitely enough for us to see a change with our eyes. So here's kind of a view of what we're talking about. I'm going to pass right through the shadow here, cast that red colored light onto the face of the moon. And again, you'll be able to see this with your bare eyes. You just have to look outside between 2 and 6 a.m. In November to see this event take place. So everything we've talked about, besides the launches, of course, you'll be able to see those. But these eclipses, again, both the annular solar eclipse happening in a couple months and this partial lunar eclipse, you will be able to see these with your bare eyes. But again, just emphasizing for the solar one, make sure you have that eye safety. You do not need any sort of eye safety to view this lunar eclipse though, but the solar one, always want to do that. So the last couple things that I want to share with you all coming up for this year is what planets will we see? What planets will you be able to spot in the sky, and when are you going to be able to see them? So for Jupiter and Saturn, those are the biggest, some of the easiest. Jupiter, at least the easiest planet to see. Even though Venus is brighter, but Jupiter is still very nice and bright. So you're going to be able to spot Jupiter and Saturn in the morning sky from March through May. So they're setting basically right with the sun right now. So they're if you are able to see them, it's really, really hard, but they will be back in the morning sky in March, and you'll be able to see those planets from March through May. And then after May, there'll be a little bit of break where we won't be able to see them, but then they will come in the evening sky. So after sunset, you'll be able to see those planets for a while after that. So a good chunk of the year, you'll be able to see Jupiter and Saturn. And then, like I mentioned, Venus. So Venus is the brightest planet, the hottest planet, which makes it beautiful to see in the sky. So right now, you will have Venus rising in the early morning. So about an hour maybe before the sun comes up, you'll have bright Venus in that sky. And of course, if anyone knows any fun facts about these planets, please feel free to put those in the chat. If you know any fun facts about the planets, or if you have questions for us, of course, that is great as well. So early morning sky, we've got Venus right now, and then it'll be in the evening sky, June through December. So again, nice big chunk of the year. I do want to share why does Venus keep looking, why is it really low to the horizon? Why is it only early morning or really early evening? So Venus, because Venus is between Earth and the Sun in our solar system, this planet's always going to appear really close to the sun's position in our sky. So it's always going to be only visible right after the sun goes down for a little while or right before the sun comes up. And again, that's just because of where it's located in the solar system. So even though it's close to the sun in our sky, it helps that it's really nice and bright because it's visible in the sky. All right, so that brings us to kind of the end of our video here. But of course, as always, if there aren't any questions about anything, let me go back here and see if we have questions. I know Andrew's been answering a lot of your questions. I will say before I go through these, our show next month is going to be all about that Mars landing. So the Perseverance and Ingenuity that we have coming up. So that's we have that to look forward to. Of course, you can come to the Science Center, to the planetarium as well. I will be there tomorrow, and next week too. You can come in and visit me, Andrew, Mike as well. So we're all going to be there. We're open Thursdays through Sundays, and then we will be open MLK weekend as well. We'll be open Thursday through Monday. So got that to look forward to also. All right, so I'll take a few minutes here and see if we have any questions. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, or if you know of another event that's going to be happening this year. Like I mentioned at the very beginning, there's a lot we could talk about, but I kind of just wanted to focus on really some of the major events that'll be happening, and then some of the things that you'll be able to see yourself from here in New Jersey. So I'll just kind of zoom back through, see what kind of questions we have. Andrew's been doing a great job answering all your questions. See, I like the universe as a whole too, Trisha. It's a pretty great place. It's very confusing in a way, and there's a lot that we don't know. Tanya, great question. Why don't they send the telescope farther away? So why don't we just send it really far and see what else is out there? That's a great question. So one of the reasons we want to keep the James Webb Telescope somewhat close to Earth, it's about 4 times as far as the moon. So it's going to be pretty far from Earth, but we still want to be able to communicate with it, give it directions, and have it look towards, point things, have it send us information. So we want to be able to communicate with it somewhat easily. So we don't want to send it too far, but I will say we have sent a couple spacecraft to kind of do just that. We've sent the Voyager missions far from Earth, are about 14 billion miles away at this point. So we are doing that with a few other things, but for this telescope, we do want it to be close enough for us to send it some kind of directions and also get information pretty easily back as well. So yeah, that was a great question. Let's see. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes. Oh yeah, the sun. That's Sunil. Sorry if I said that wrong, but yeah, interesting fact. So Venus actually spins in an opposite direction as every other planet. So it's in what's called retrograde motion. Recently, some scientists had the idea that maybe it used to spin in the same direction as all the other planets, but it's flipped over. So That's a yeah, that is a very fun fact. So the sun appears to go the opposite direction across the sky than than ours. Yeah, really cool fact. Um, let's see. Hmm. When was the moon born? That is a really cool question. So there's a lot of ideas about where and when the moon came from. The most currently accepted idea of the moon is that it came from Earth. Something knocked into Earth when the Earth was really young and knocked a chunk of our outer crust, and that formed and cooled into the moon. So we think the moon is pretty much the same age as Earth. It formed around the same time as Earth and our whole solar system. Um, let's see. Awesome questions. I love these. Can we see Neptune anytime? So, Neptune is in the night sky right now, but it's too far away for us to see with our bare eyes. So it's out there, it is in the sky, but because it's so far away, we can't see it without a telescope. So great question. We can just kind of know that Neptune's there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. All right. So lots and lots of questions. Thanks again. I wish I could stay on here forever and talk with your questions about all of these amazing facts. So again, I'll be at the planetarium if anyone would like to come visit. And then I look forward to seeing all of you again for our future shows on Facebook Live. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great year in astronomy and get a chance to view some of these amazing events that are going to be happening. So, thanks so much, everyone.